Mom, the Christian rappers are fighting again. Yo, what's poppin', Crew Nation? You already know who it is, what it is, and what we do, baby. It is your boy, Jay, and I don't know if y'all have seen this, but it has been a lot of discourse going on in the Christian hip-hop community concerning originality, really over the past couple months, but it's really heated up over the past couple days. I mean, you got Caleb Gordon going at Derek Minor, who Derek Minor and Parris Chariz first pointed out Caleb Gordon, and then you have Lecrae stepping in saying what he said, and Nobigdyl is coming out saying that this is too prideful, and this is insane. So I'm gonna try to break this down and kind of let you all know what is going on. Where did this start at? Well, Derek Minor and Parris Chariz was on their recent podcast where they said, hey, you need to be original. Not calling nobody out by name, but just saying as a call to the Christian hip hop community, hey, you need to be original. You don't need to be the Temu version of anything. And you know, you're wrong if you're taking these things and kind of giving them to the Christian audience as if it was in fact original. And the crazy part about this is that Parris Chariz has said this before, and he's made this claim before. This is something that he's been very passionate about, but they brought this up, and y'all already know the age-old saying, a hit dog will holler. So at that point, Caleb Gordon decided to come out and say, look, hey, when I first started this Christian rap thing, I ain't listening to none of y'all. Matter of fact, one of the only songs that I thought was good, because all the other ones was trash, was Sweet Victory. Whoop, foul on the play. You cannot say things like that. However, this is not out of the norm, right? A lot of these Christian hip-hop artists that come in to the game feel like that they found something new and they just want to leave it better than what it was when they came in. Everybody likes to say that Christian hip-hop was corny before they made it. Hey, I've been guilty of saying that as well. Christian hip-hop beforehand was corny until I really started listening to it, and some of the newer artists did it better. And that's kind of what you want, right? You want these things to evolve. You want these things to get better. You don't want them to kind of stay in this time capsule. And if I'm being honest, if y'all go back and listen to a lot of the Christian hip hop, yeah, it may sound a little bit lame at this point, but if you listen to it and compartmentalize it and listen to it with the ears of the era, you will in fact say that it stood up to a lot of the music that came out. And look, I'm not one to say that this thing is wrong, because a lot of these niggas started sounding like the Christian versions of everything when they first came in. You may get one or two of these Christian rappers that say they started doing Christian rap because of Cray, but 9 times out of 10, half these niggas are hood babies, and when they come up and they start making Christian music and they change their life around, that music is going to sound exactly like the people that they were listening to beforehand. I remember listening to Lil Nuvi, and he sound just like NBA Youngboy. A lot of these niggas, whenever they start making music, they weren't listening to Cray, they weren't listening to Truth, and they weren't listening to John Keith. They were listening to Jay, they were listening to Drake, they were listening to Bun B and Pac and NWA, and that is the reason why the music came out the way that it was, because the best form of flattery is imitation, right? And so when hip-hop has raised you, this is the type of music that you're going to make. And I got to admit, I didn't think that it was going to come out to this. Look, people say what they say, and that is what it is. Hey, they called out Forrest Frank and made Unseason My Worship. And I don't believe Forrest Frank said anything, because he's really not worried about y'all niggas. But when it came to Caleb Gordon, he was very offended and decided to personally attack Derek Minor, who said, hey, get a Grammy, little nigga. And people want to try to talk about that and say that he was wrong for that, but I've had personal conversations with Derek Minor and Parris Chariz, and these are two of the realest niggas in the game. So look, you can't get mad at their response, because they just real niggas, just like us, which is the reason why y'all like to listen to us, right? I am so surprised that this is something that was going on, because, you know, with the whole Rolling Loud thing, and Andy Mineo and Words Played decided to get in this too. But with the whole Rolling Loud thing, I thought everybody was coming together and they were all smiling and they were, you know, really championing each other. And I guess that's what you're supposed to do from the outside. But the little brothers and the big brothers are bickering a tad bit. And this is the reason why, because one person is saying be original. The other person is saying, yo, it's hard to be original when this is derived from hip hop within itself. And he said something very interesting, talking about that Christian rap is a new genre, and it's really not a new genre. I mean, it's about as new as mainstream hip hop. There might be 5 years to a decade in between the two, but over 30 years of hip hop. But that is the problem. This is the issue. Niggas don't do their Googles. And a lot of these new artists that come into Christian hip hop, they come in because they saw Caleb Gordon do it, and they look at the success of a Miles Minnick or a Mike Teasy, and they're able to blow up without actually going through the process and paying their dues. I don't know if it happens like that on the mainstream side. I know that these niggas that be on the labels, it don't happen with them like that, but this is what tends to happen in this area. What we really need to go back to is we need to go back to when the Lecrae era, when he was having them niggas sit for 2 years. I understand the reason why he was doing that. He wanted them to get right. He wanted them to get in their word. He didn't want them coming out there talking about some BS and it not lining up. That was back when Cray carried, but but he didn't want that to happen. But if we do these artists like this, then at that point, I think that they'll get more insight as to what's going on and what was before them and kind of the future that it's going to take. But in the era of social media, in the era of streaming, they don't need to do that. They can go make whatever music that they want to make. And if they find their niche or they find their audience, then at that point, they don't have to speak to anybody. Rapzilla does a very good job at trying to put the history in front. Y'all know that we had an interview with Stephen Wiley, the person that made Christian hip hop. These little arguments and these things are as old as Christian hip hop, because even Stephen Wiley was like, yeah, I know who Lecrae is, but I ain't really rocking with everything that he's doing, which a lot of people said that about Cray. But the only thing that Derek Minor and them tried to do was say, hey, this is not what you should be doing. And if you don't know, Caleb Gordon has had his issues when it comes to this, where an actual record label told him, yo, pull that shit down. We're not with this. And all of this that you're getting from this, you better wise up. And to Caleb Gordon's point, he was like, yo, nobody called me and told me. Y'all knew what was going on and y'all just wanted to sit back and laugh. But to the way that it's sounding is that a lot of people can't tell Caleb Gordon anything, that he's going to do what he wants to do until he can't do it anymore. Now, Nobigdyl came out and said that he sounds very prideful with the way that he's speaking to Derek Minor and how he's talking about all of this. But again, when somebody has that type of influence and they have that type of platform and they have that type of audience, you can't tell them much, right? Because their success doesn't depend on anything that you are talking about. Now, I find this very interesting because beforehand, we just had a conversation not too long ago where Anike, Nobigdyl, and John Keith were telling artists that you should not be doing Christian remixes, or to make it very specific, you shouldn't make that your entire marketing plan. I ain't got no problem with it, because if you're trying to reach people outside of Christian hip hop, they're not going to listen to you unless you're making those. Now, some can say, oh yeah, we did this, we did that, and we've been past kind of that barrier, and that is totally fine. But in most cases, if you want people to come and view your music that don't care about Christian hip hop, because the second that you say it's Christian hip hop, they turn a blind ear to it, then at that point, that is fine. As long as your music stacks up, as long as your music holds up to the next nigga, then at that point, I don't think that they're going to mind. But my whole issue was, it was kind of crazy that they was coming out saying this, because all of them niggas done did it. It was an era where there was everybody remixing a popular Christian song. So here we go again. People are talking about originality, but I think it's kind of hard to be original when people, or those that are coming to try to make Christian hip hop because they think that it's easy and they think it's the easiest way to the top, they're going to make music according to what their ears were listening to prior to that. It's going to sound like Jay, it's going to sound like Nas, it's going to sound like Pac, it's going to sound like all these other niggas that they were in fact listening to. But look, this is kind of insane. I didn't think that it was going to get here. I thought that people would kind of blow this off, but y'all got the energy towards the wrong people. Save that energy for Marcus Rogers, the niggas that's really trying to infiltrate this shit. Save that energy for Forrest Frank, the nigga that's trying to gentrify this shit. Like, save that energy for these people. Caleb Gordon got his own thing going on, and I understand that there may be a sense of what everybody is saying, pride and different things like that. Hey, but allow him to be or do what he's doing. He's making decent music and he's calling people to God, but that's why Christian hip hop is so dope. There's always going to be two sides of it. I don't think that one should be blatantly stealing, which is the biggest thing that Parris Chariz was talking about. And big shouts out to him for the way that he came at this and he went to point out the history of Christian hip hop. I don't agree with the blatant stealing of, art and trying to put it out and pass it off as your own, because that was Parris's biggest concern. Like, you really putting this out here and these youth group kids don't know anything about this. So they're, being lost in this and blindly listening to it and has no idea what this really is, but you do because you're the artist, and that's wrong, right? But this is this is pretty interesting, man. Why don't you all let me know what you all think? Hit that like button, hit that red subscribe button, put it in the comments, and it's on.